Hiroshima's Last Witnesses, Preserving Atomic Bomb Survivors' Stories. Imagine the devastation. Hiroshima, a city reduced to ashes, with bodies strewn everywhere, and the air thick with smoke and heat. This was the grim scene that greeted 10-year-old Yoshiko Niiyama just 2 days after the American atomic bomb had obliterated her city. The horrors she witnessed that day are etched into her memory, a stark reminder of the unimaginable destruction wrought by nuclear warfare. But here's where it gets controversial. As the world edges closer to a new era of nuclear brinkmanship, the race to preserve the memories of survivors like Niiyama becomes ever more urgent. Niiyama and her eldest sister hurried to Hiroshima to search for their father, Mitsugi, who worked at a bank just 1 kilometer from the hypocenter. They had been evacuated to a nearby neighborhood, but knew something terrible had happened when they saw trucks carrying badly burned victims pass by their temporary home. The city was a wasteland, and the faces of the survivors were so disfigured that Niiyama struggled to look at them. Yet, she had to. The fires were still burning and the dead lay where they had fallen. As Hiroshima prepares to mark 80 years since the world's first nuclear attack, Niiyama, now 90, is one of the few remaining Hibakusha, survivors of the atomic bombings who can recall the horrors they witnessed. At 8:15 a.m. on August 6, 1945, the Enola Gay, a U.S. B-29 bomber, dropped a nuclear bomb on the city. Little Boy detonated about 600 meters above the ground, unleashing a force equivalent to 15,000 tons of TNT. Between 60,000 and 80,000 people were killed instantly, with the death toll rising to 140,000 by the end of the year as victims succumbed to burns and radiation sickness. 3 days later, another nuclear bomb, this time a plutonium bomb, was dropped on Nagasaki, killing 74,000 people. On August 15th, a demoralized Japan's Niiyama, one of 4 sisters, never found her father or his remains, which were likely incinerated along with those of his colleagues. My father was tall, so for a long time, whenever I saw a tall man from behind, I would run up to him, thinking it might be him, she recalls, but it never was. With the number of survivors dwindling each year, it falls to younger generations to continue sharing the horrors inflicted on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. For decades, Niiyama, a registered Hibakusha, remained silent about the trauma she endured as a schoolgirl, even to her own family. I didn't want to remember what had happened, she says, and many Hibakusha stayed quiet as they knew they might face discrimination, like not being able to marry or find a job. There were rumors that children born to Hibakusha would be deformed. It was only when her granddaughter, Yoshiko Niiyama, then a high school student, asked her about her wartime experiences that Niiyama broke her silence. When my children are older, they'll naturally ask about what happened to their grandmother, says the younger Niiyama, 35, a reporter for a local newspaper and the mother of 2 young children. It would be such a shame if I wasn't able to tell them. That's why I decided to ask my grandmother about the bomb. Kyoko is part of a growing movement in Hiroshima and Nagasaki to become family successors, a local government initiative that certifies the descendants of first-generation Hibakusha to record and pass on the experiences of those who lived through nuclear warfare. Now that the anniversary is approaching, I can talk to her again, Kyoko says. This is a really precious time for our family. I don't want to think about that day. Last year, survivors of the Hiroshima and Nagasaki attacks won recognition for their campaign to rid the world of nuclear weapons when Nihon Hidankyo, a nationwide network of Hibakusha, was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. But survivors face a race against time to ensure that their message lives on in a world that is edging closer to a new age of nuclear brinkmanship. The world's 9 nuclear states are spending billions of dollars on modernizing, and in some cases expanding, their arsenals. The Russian president, Vladimir Putin, has refused to rule out the use of tactical nuclear weapons in his war against Ukraine. And last week, a veiled nuclear threat by the country's former leader, Dmitry Medvedev, prompted Donald Trump, who had earlier compared U.S. strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities to the Hiroshima and Nagasaki attacks. to claim that he had moved 2 nuclear submarines closer to the region. North Korea's development of nuclear weapons continues unchecked. The Hibakusha have spent their lifetimes courageously telling their stories again and again, essentially reliving their childhood traumas, to make sure the world learns the reality of what nuclear weapons actually do to people and why they must be abolished, so that no one else goes through what they have suffered, says Melissa Park, Executive Director of the International Campaign to Abolish Nuclear Weapons. These brave Hibakusha deserve to have their decades of campaigning vindicated and to witness the elimination of nuclear weapons in their lifetimes. This would provide some nuclear justice. The number of registered survivors of both attacks fell to just below 100,000 this year, according to the Health Ministry, compared with more than 372,000 in 1981. Their average age is 86. Just one of the 78 people confirmed to have been within 500 meters of the hypocenter of the blast in Hiroshima is still alive. An 89-year-old man. On the eve of the anniversary, the ministry said it would no longer conduct a survey every 10 years to assess the living conditions and health of Hibakusha, saying it wanted to lessen the burden on aging survivors. Niiyama, who struggles to walk, will watch Wednesday's ceremony at home and pause to remember her father, whose memory is represented by a teacup he used that was retrieved from the devastation. "I don't like the month of August," she says. "I have nightmares around the anniversary. I don't want to think about that day, but I can't forget it. But I'm glad I still remember that I'm a Hibakusha." And this is the part most people miss. The legacy of Hiroshima and Nagasaki is not just about the past, it's about the future. As we stand on the brink of a new nuclear era, the stories of survivors like Yoshiko Niiyama become more crucial than ever. But what do you think? Should we be more proactive in ensuring that the horrors of nuclear warfare are never forgotten? Or is it time to move on and focus on the present and future? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. 80 years later, uncovering Hiroshima's peace symbols, atomic bomb legacy. The haunting legacy of Hiroshima, a powerful testament to peace after nuclear devastation. August 6, 1945. Forever changed human history when Hiroshima became ground zero for the world's first atomic bombing. Today, this sobering site has transformed into a profound World Heritage destination that serves as both memorial and warning about nuclear warfare's devastating potential. But here's what makes this story particularly powerful. The most iconic symbol of that fateful day, the A-bomb dome, almost didn't survive at all. This remarkable structure, originally designed in 1915 by Czech architect Jan Letzel as a commercial exhibition hall, stood just 160 meters from the bomb's hypocenter. While initial post-war sentiment called for its demolition to erase painful memories, something fascinating happened during the 1960s Cold War era. The building's haunting skeleton became recognized as an irreplaceable testament to nuclear weapons' destructive power. The dome's preservation story reflects a larger transformation. What was once a bustling district of 4,400 residents has evolved into the sprawling Peace Memorial Park, spanning over 120,000 square meters. At its heart lies the Peace Memorial Museum, which recently broke attendance records with 2.26 million visitors in fiscal 2024, including 720,000 international guests. Here's where the museum's approach gets particularly interesting. A 2019 renovation shifted focus to deeply personal stories, regardless of victims' nationalities. Visitors encounter intimate artifacts, a charred school uniform, a clock frozen at 8:15 a.m., personal belongings that humanize the statistics of 140,000 lives lost. The exhibits don't shy away from controversial aspects, including the lingering effects of radiation that claimed victims years after the blast. The park features numerous powerful monuments, including the arch-shaped cenotaph for A-bomb victims bearing the provocative inscription, "Let all the souls here rest in peace, for we shall not repeat the evil." The eternal flame for peace, lit in 1964, continues its vigil. Perhaps most moving is the Atomic Bomb Memorial Mound, containing remains of 70,000 unidentified victims. But here's what visitors often find most striking: the stark contrast between the dome's skeletal remains and the surrounding vibrant greenery serves as a powerful metaphor for both destruction and renewal. Modern additions, like the Urizuru Tower, offer observation spaces where visitors can contemplate this juxtaposition. This leads to some challenging questions. In our current era of global tensions, how relevant are Hiroshima's lessons? Has the world truly internalized the message of nuclear weapons? Devastating potential? What role should such memorials play in shaping future peace discussions? The site's recent prominence during the 2023 G7 summit and connection to the 2024 Nobel Peace Prize awarded to Nihon Hidankyo, Japan's A and H bomb sufferers organizations, suggests these questions remain critically relevant. As international visitors explore the park's many monuments, from the Children's Peace Monument to the Memorial Tower for mobilized students, they're confronted with an undeniable truth. The impact of nuclear warfare transcends all national and cultural boundaries. What do you think? Has humanity learned enough from Hiroshima's legacy to prevent such devastation from occurring again? Share your thoughts on how we can better preserve and promote these crucial lessons for future generations.